Hi everybody and welcome to the new appointment of Data-Driven Destinations. Today we have a very special guest from Scotland. It's a destination that we really love a lot. In the office, everybody was thrilled to listen to Josh. Josh is a guy that we shared together the mission to transform the destination using technology and using data. So I'm very welcome to have you. Welcome, Josh, and thank you to be with us in this new appointment of Data-Driven Destination. So, Josh, just to start, just introduce yourself and tell us what is your role in Traveltech from Scotland. That's correct?
Yes, Traveltech for Scotland. Yes, I'm the director of Traveltech for Scotland, which is a business cluster representing travel technology companies in Scotland. And by travel technology, any company that is using digital or data-driven technologies applied to the tourism customer journey. But also, I work at the University of Edinburgh in an institute called the Edinburgh Futures Institute. And there, I'm responsible for data-driven innovation and artificial intelligence around tourism and festivals in southeast Scotland.
Oh, amazing! That's it's amazing to me to learn that exists a destination that have something called Traveltech for Scotland in that case, and you have the mission to use data. So I just cut the chase and go to the point. I'm very curious to know if you have some data-driven project that you want to share. You want to tell us. Even something in the mid-long term.
Absolutely. There's quite a lot. I think the way that data is being used in tourism is undergoing quite a significant change, really. And it's being looked at in more detail. New technology has been applied to it. And so we've tried to do some of that and tried to sort of push that ahead. One of the projects we've tried to do is a bit around prediction or forecasting the number of visitors actually coming to Edinburgh, but also coming to Scotland. And it's really tough. I think when we went out and spoke to Scottish businesses to see, where does data fit within your business cycle, people just wanted more quick and up-to-date information around how many people are coming and where might those people be coming from. And if possible, can you make an assessment a little bit earlier around how many people could be here next week or in 3 months' time or in a year's time? Now, that was a bit easier when seasonality was somewhat predictable, but of course, in this current moment, it's a little bit more tricky. So our project, working with academics in the University of Edinburgh's School of Mathematics, is trying to predict the number of visitors coming to Edinburgh Castle, but also the number of people staying in Edinburgh's hotels based on things like Google Trends. It's trying to look at things like Skyscanner search data or previous footfall data and various things like that. And then hopefully we'll provide some of that information in nice visual graphics so that some of the small Scottish and Edinburgh businesses can interpret it. So that's just one example of, I think, quite a cutting-edge use of data technology for tourism.
Oh, that's amazing. So, but do you define Scotland like it's already a data-driven destinations today, or it's what part of the path to become a data-driven destination, you're using data to take more strategic decision, but I think you are already using data for your daily operation. And last question, it's only used at central level, or you are empowering also the local destination, for example?
That's a great question. Great question. And I think I don't think many places are yet using data systematically to make decisions, because you can use it in terms of your marketing, in terms of your visitor management, operations, and I think Scotland is still on that journey. We're having some projects that are starting to do something, but we've got quite a long way to go. And I think the latter part of your question is the most important thing, which is Visit Scotland have an amazing data team, and they do brilliant work trying to empower everyone. But a lot of the data that is still required for a local bed and breakfast or a restaurant, they may have access to their own data, they may look at it, but as tourism destinations are, they're so interconnected that you need to be looking at data at destination level, and we've still got a fair bit to go. I mean, one interesting example comes from last summer, where we couldn't fly to anywhere else. We were holidaying in Scotland pretty much if you're in there. So some places had a huge number of visitors coming to them, which they hadn't expected. So visitor management has become a big issue. It's how many people are going to fit in this car park? How can you move people to another place? How can you help them experience some of the restaurants and bars that have been empty for a year? So we've started to try and look at how we can do that using sensors and developing of apps to try and help move people between places. So we're on a journey, but it's still early days.
Yeah. That's you made a lot of work in the journey to become a data-driven destination. You mentioned you manage a lot of people that came to your destination. The first time that I came to Edinburgh and in Scotland, I was there during the Fringe Festival, and I was like shocked from the organization, and but at the same time from the amount of people that were in town at the time. I think, do you use data even from that specific event? So you use data just to predict people, like you said, or you use data to segment and profile people and to move people around the city? Can you elaborate a little for us this specific example?
Yeah, that's a great example as well, because the Edinburgh Festivals, and there's 11 of them that go through a year, they're huge. And in August, usually in a typical year, it's the biggest, I think it's the third biggest ticketed event after the World Cup, the Football Men's World Cup and the Olympics. So it's huge. We do it every year. And, it's an amazing thing. I urge anyone watching to experience it. But it's also, it puts pressure on the city, and it puts pressure on different parts of it, in particular the city centre. So one of the ways that we try to collectively use data with Transport for Edinburgh and the Fringe Festival in particular was to look at where were the shows, where were they situated, where were the bus routes and different sort of transport routes going in between shows and back to hotels and various things like that, so that we could start better being more specific with our transport plans in the city.
Sure.
So that we
and at the same time, you are empowering the customer experience of the visitors, that they have a better experience from the overall journey.
100%. Yeah, it touches everything. It is getting a better experience for the visitor, but also for the people in Edinburgh who may be doing the commute at the same time a big show finishes and that bus gets full. So that's been a big project, and we've been doing a lot of data sharing and some really interesting work there. But the festivals themselves, they're really sophisticated, and they do an awful lot of segmentation. They do a lot of great data-driven marketing. But what is different is how we share and collaborate across festivals, with the city, with tourism boards, so that we can all use that data to do exactly what you were describing, help people move to different parts, experience more of the city, experience more of Scotland. So there's a range of interesting and quite fun projects going there.
And before we talk also the local destination, it's hard to, start working with the local destination that usually are small DMO with a few people, and I think with not the same skill that you have, for example. This, for example, in my experience, it's the real difficulties that we encounter in the south of Europe. So not all the destinations are the same skills, the same capability to deliver the same technology and the same strategy.
It's the biggest problem. I think if you look at the tourism industry, you have some really big companies who are some of the world leading data innovators, right? And then at the bottom layer, you have all these small, medium companies who might not have the money, and they certainly won't have much time to be doing what is some of the sophisticated data analysis. They might not have access to the data that they need. And then in the middle, you have these sort of destinations, bigger ones, or big institutes that may have the data, but they may not have the funding. So one of the critical things is actually just accessing data, finding it, the right stuff. And there's so much more out there. So what I think is really lovely about what you're doing at the Data Appeal is you're able to bring some of that data together so that small and medium players can actually access it. And that's always a big challenge. I always say, when I'm speaking to tourism businesses, I always say, look at the data you've got now, look at the early data you can access. So things like Google Trends can be really useful, but there's still even only a limited use, just one person doing it. You need intermediaries, you need ways to be able to look at insights and then act upon them, because you're never going to have the time or money to do all the analytics to get to that point.
And you use data also for fine-tuning your marketing campaign. That's correct. So to allocate budget and just monitoring in real time the ROI of the marketing. It's a way that you use data or not?
So I know that Visit Scotland do that really, really well. They're a sophisticated outfit. They are doing some great marketing, and they have an increasingly sophisticated team. They're developing something at the moment called the Tourism Data Observatory, and I think what you were just describing there is exactly one of the things they're going to be doing. But it kind of goes back to what we were just talking about, which is Visit Scotland have that power. They're really good at enabling others, but smaller destinations still don't really know some of the basics. They don't know how many people are visiting. They don't know where they're visiting from. And so they do need to start accessing that information so that they can make those tailored marketing campaigns.
And do you think this is a responsibility of the, national destination, national tourism board, for example, or any single small destination have to organize by itself?
I think it's both. I think a national body has to look after Scotland as a nation. It wants to do everything, and it does it really, really well. A local destination and the businesses within it have very similar and aligned goals, but also want to take a bit of that.
It's even more simple. Exactly.
Yeah, and they want to be able. They know their market really well.
Exactly.
And so there's certain things that the power needs to be about that lower level, so that they can start influencing their own destiny.
Oh, wow. You already did a lot to transform Scotland in a data-driven destination, and I'm curious what data are telling you, for example, for now on. So we are exiting from a pandemic, and I think a lot of every major destination are rely on data just to understand the future and just to be a little more prepared for the future. So what's your data are saying about the future of travel in Scotland? Jumping back are like everybody hope, I think.
Yeah. It's a really difficult time, and for everyone in tourism, and the data is difficult to read in some ways, because we've seen some great work again from University of Edinburgh. They were looking at where people are searching for Scotland, and where their consumer confidence index, their purchasing power was also high, and you thought that if you're searching and you can travel, and that showed that there's definitely huge demand. People really want to come to Scotland. They're really engaged. They're really interested. Other bits of work with the Edinburgh International Book Festival again showed the same. It says that there's an awful lot of people who want to engage with Edinburgh's festivals, who want to engage with amazing events in Glasgow and elsewhere. But they just can't. A lot of them can't travel, or maybe the cost is so high. So I think one thing the data's saying is Scotland is still a really resonant destination. People want to go here. Which is brilliant. The other part is the data that is around where people can come from, and I think it's domestic market. So we're just looking at people really in the UK coming up to Scotland and experiencing more of it. We think that most people are coming to the rural or self-catering areas at the moment. So and there's a lot in Scotland which is beautiful in the rural destinations. Cities are not doing as well, and I think there's still that nervousness around going to a city because of the feel that it is a little bit more closed in. But there's brilliant regulations. There's really good safety. So I think that cities will come back. I think it just might take a little bit more time. Next year is the Edinburgh Festivals.
Exactly the same in Italy. We are experiencing the same.
Yeah, it's really tough, and I think dealing with uncertainty is the name of the game at the moment. You start preparing, then you're knocked back a bit. You have to, and it's tough for businesses. So I think data is really critical because it can help you manage the uncertainty. It can't get rid of it, but it can help you think about it. It can help you scenario plan, and that's why. Even in times of uncertainty where historic data might not accurately reflect the current moment, it's still important to know what's happening.
Sure. So just to finish, and before to thank you, what do you want to highlight? So what is, in your opinion, the main reason people come to Scotland? This is a hard question.
That's a really hard question. There's so many reasons. Well, I think you have Scotland's such a diverse destination.
I know.
You have wonderful international cities. You've already mentioned the festivals in Edinburgh, but the event scene and the music scene in Glasgow is just wonderful. You have the cities. You then have the Highlands, which are just sensational. They're like breathtaking. And then you have it's the year of coasts and waters in Scotland, and that's something that really appeals to me. Be able to go across beautiful beaches in the islands and highlands, and the rugged terrain, the amazing wildlife. So I'm not highlighting anything there. I'm just saying, it's such a diverse place. You have to come visit. It's brilliant.
Okay, you already convinced us. So the next appointment of Data Driven Destination, maybe we can come to register to record the appointment from your office. We'll be very, very glad of that. So thank you, Josh. And if you want to share, your hope or just a statement, what is your, hope for the future in terms of data-driven destination, of course?
I think I want the small, medium businesses and organizations being able to access information so that they can make decisions for their organization and make collective decisions as well. At the moment, it's not yet there, but we're getting there.
That's amazing, because a destination is composed by several small business activities, and if everybody goes in the same direction, the whole destination will become better and better. Very good, Josh. Thank you to be with us, and I think it's a very interesting conversation, and we learn how Scotland is becoming more and more data-driven destination. Thank you again.